little beef.
A beef launching into the beefs.
Launching into the beef.
A client. This is a client beef, right?
A couple weeks ago, one of my new installs is a. So I do commercial and residential. So this was a residential client, and out of the blue, he Venmos me the money he owed me, and he said, thanks for all that you do. We're taking a different direction. And I was like, and it was right before Christmas. So, I mean, and it's about an $800 a month account. And so I'm like, yo, and this is so funny when you do this for a living. I mean, you live and die by your own sword. So, was I going to go quietly into the night without any explanation? I don't usually do that. However, I tend to have high-end clientele. So these are wealthy people. And I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but my experience with, Fortune 500 people or, rich and powerful people, a lot of times when they make a decision, they don't like to be bugged about that decision. It's just cut and dry. They made a choice and you're done, move on. But this one, I just had no warning shot. And I was like, I was careful. And when you get to that point, I knew I couldn't call him because someone like that doesn't want to be called. So I texted, and you make it as short as possible and as professional as possible. And I was like, you don't get personal at all, so I wasn't like, oh, that sucks, or blah, blah, blah. It's just like, obviously you're upset about something. Is it possible? Can we talk about this? Because I can't for the life of me think of, anything that I did to have caused this, blah, 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 yada, yada. And luckily in my career, I don't often get fired, but when I do, a lot of times someone makes that decision, I say something, they don't respond, and we just cut ties and I move on. Luckily, this guy came back. And, I'm a big communicator. So I had communicated ever since the beginning to this guy about how, how in the beginning it's wonky and you might see some algae and some corals might die and some fish might go missing. And, I'm charging you for stuff, but at the same time, I'm not going to lose an account over this. If you get really upset about something, like I'll order you some new stuff. It's important for me to continue getting that money. So if I have to bend a little bit, that's what I do. And I had that conversation with this guy multiple times, but it's just that he lost a few things and there was some algae. And I was like, sir, I will come clean it like, twice for free. Plus I'll bring you more corals. And so he said, well, fair enough. He's like, I'm out of town. He said, it's a lot of algae. So I said, can I come over tomorrow and clean the algae for free? And he was like, that kind of, I softened him up with that. And he was like, hey, if you're going to do that, that's cool. So I went and I was there for 2-3 hours. I cleaned the hell out of it, trying to throw a bone. But then when he came back and he was in better spirits and he said, sorry for being so like flippant and firing you. And I told him, I said, there's never any need for firing me unless I do something negligent or we just, have a clash of character. He's like, I'm sorry, I got a little hot-headed. And I was like, no matter what happens to your tank, I got your back. You don't have to fire me for some things that I brought you missing. I would much rather replace those things, even though I don't love it, than lose you as a client. And so tactfully at the end, I asked him, I said, I do need to say that like when stuff like this happens, I need a little more solidarity. If you could like not open with like firing me, but just open with, I lost some things. I'm not happy about it. Is there a solution to that? And I was like, and he agreed to that. And I was like, thank you. Cause I still like to get fired for unknown reasons. So that was like a roller coaster I went through all during Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man.
It was touch and go.
Wow. And so now you've made him happy.
I got it back. I made him happy. As a matter of fact, I got to where, I gave him some free stuff that honestly, that I cut out of other people's, and they cut out of other people's aquariums and put them in his aquarium. So that's a cool two-pronged thing. It didn't really cost me money and I didn't pull anything out of the ocean to do that. And then he goes from, I need more fish. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. So he ends up like ordering $1,000 worth of stuff from me. fires me one week and then gives me a bunch of money the next week. But
yeah. So the takeaway is, if you want to keep your client, just grab your ankles.
yeah,
Ben Johnson.
yeah, it's you know, I'm saying if you do what I do for a living and you think it's rigid and you're just going to fire people because you can't bend a little bit. I promise you, in this line of work, you have to bend a little bit, not too much, because you can't be giving stuff away, but you also have to communicate real hardcore about what's going on.
Yeah. It's like that in every line of work. And sometimes not in every, because in juggling, it was the same thing. We have to, I've had to do some things to some clients because once my partner redirected an email to me and I responded to it truthfully, but I didn't know it was redirected. So it went back to the client, which basically said, I don't know if we want to work with this guy. We're giving him a deal forever. This is lame. Don't we want to exactly not do this? Yeah. And then on a drive from Vegas to Palm Desert, I was on the phone with this client for an hour and a half, bending over backwards.
What do you need? What do you need me to juggle? When do you...
You know, what are you going to do? But I'm glad you got the client back. That's good, because it sounds like the client just really didn't quite get the relationship and now kind of does. So congratulations.
If you run a maintenance company, there's no more important conversation that you have with a new client, especially, like I say many times, my clientele is oftentimes, they're not hobbyists. So they're just looking for living art. They don't know dick about aquariums. So I have to communicate what you're going to see. You're going to see brown diatoms. We may get wonky with algae for a little bit. I'm going to battle it. You know, it's funny because it's everything that hobbyists watching this show knows that happens. But when you get, you know, a client in there, you have to let them know it doesn't go from 0 to perfect. Well, it's never perfect, but, you know, 0 to great in 1 month.
Yeah. And you got to let them know, look, if you're unhappy with something, let me know.
Yeah.
You know, because I can always come out and do something.
Yeah.
So let me know. Okay, that's great. That's great.